Welcome to Married to Movies. Industry insiders John Russell and Tracy Kring live and work happily in cinematrimony. They're sharing behind-the-scenes adventures of writing, producing, and appreciating films.
Good morning, babe.
Good morning, Tracy Kring.
Hey.
So, we're eating some avocado toast today. And the avocados were 3 for $1.
Yeah.
And
They're really weird.
they don't look like what we're used to seeing avocados.
They're like a third of the size.
Yes.
And they're super sweet. And evidently, like, half rotten inside, which, I don't know. I tend to think that means they're overripe. That's probably why they were on sale. But we got dingles all over the place.
This dingly.
But they're really, really sweet.
Yeah, and Tracy brought up maybe this is the way avocados really are. Like, these are non-Monsanto'd avocados. And we've gotten so used to avocados getting, jacked up with steroids and stuff that we had forgotten what real avocados were. I don't know. Or maybe these are Monsanto'd avocados, but they don't feel like they would be, especially if they're three for $1. Yeah.
Maybe they're just more organic.
But I think they're good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're quite good, especially for 3 for $1. Jeez.
Not like avocado on sandwiches. Avocado is like a fat, and it doesn't really it's just avocado slices. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why are we doing this? I want it turned into like a guacamole, an aioli, a dressing, something.
Right. Yeah, well, when I come home from New York City, the options of bringing home a snack are real basic. I mean, it's just like, McDonald's or, Burger King or Wendy's or something like that. But if you stop at Wawa, then you have a plethora of paninis. Mm-hmm. A plethora of paninis. And I tried to get her avocado on her panini, and she was not happy about it.
Well, I'm just like, why? Why are we wasting the calories on this fatty stuff you can't even taste? I sent you a TikTok
this morning.
I have like a sideline of fascination with scammers.
Do you go looking for scammers or
no,
trying to explore different forms of the scammage?
Well, I just anytime I run across it, I'm like, ooh.
I think I just came up with a terminology.
Scammage?
Yes, exactly. If a scam does damage.
Oh, it always does.
It's scammage.
It's gotten really crazy with social media scammers. I had a brush with a scammer, but I actually did know them. I've had friends who've fallen victim to scams. I've had friends fall victim to scams and they didn't really even realize they were scams and I didn't tell them.
There's a new level of scam now.
Oh, yeah.
I got one this morning where it's
It'll be like from PayPal or something.
It's like, okay, well, we were just letting you know that we're charging $3,100 on your account.
I always respond back for them to go to hell because they suck and they're hurting people. And now it's not even older people. That was always the thing. Like, well, why would they think it was the Publishers Clearinghouse? They're stupid old people. It's not like that anymore. It is really tricky. The TikTok I sent you was of a guy telling the story of this elaborate scam. He was getting messages on Facebook and from a friend he hadn't talked to in a while. And all of a sudden, after 5 or 6 texts, the guy asked him for $200. And then immediately he got a FaceTime call, through Messenger, the video call through Messenger. And it was the guy. But the guy was acting like he was having a hard time with his phone and saying, I can't hear you. And he was saying, I can't hear you. And then it hung up. But they continued the messaging. And the guy, who's getting scammed, he was like, I know this guy's sister. I'm going to just reach out to her real quick.
Apparently, what had happened is that the scammers initially called the guy, got video of him, and they had obviously made it seem like they were having problems with their computer so that they could get what looked like him saying, "Oh, I can't hear, I can't hear what you're saying." And then they used that video on like 15 of his friends to try to get $200 each.
The thing is, you might not be tricked by the messages, right?
Right. But when you see a person, man.
And somebody did end up giving him $200. Or them. I don't know who they are. So, but when they called the sister, it was like, oh yeah, we're getting calls about this whole day. It's a scam. Now, that is crazy. If you fell for that, even if he didn't, if you didn't have his sister's phone number, how would you verify it? And if you had a little bit of a friendship or relationship with this person and you had the $200, then wouldn't you fall for it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now we're not even getting into the future, which could be AI. And it would be an AI version of him.
Oh, I have
and
a story.
he'd actually be able to talk and say,
I have
hey.
a story.
Oh, you got a story. Lay it on. Give us a story, Tracy.
Actually, my dad told me the story that he saw in local news about a woman who received messages and stuff from her grandson, but it was like voice.
Okay.
He would call her or voice message her that he needed money, and it sounded like her grandson. And it was like, well, of course, he's in big trouble. He's sick.
Right.
He's in the hospital. They need money.
I think they're way ahead in AI with voice as opposed to, when you see the faces and sort of the mouths moving and stuff like that, you could still tell that it's a little bit hanky. But I think the voices are a lot better. It sort of reminds me of the early days of computer animations. And one of the things that I feel like they got first was fire. I think fire looked really good, but water did not.
Right. Not until Avatar.
Right.
Well, I do not like these scammer people at all.
Actually, there's a show on HBO called The Telemarketers that I'm kind of curious to watch because it's like a docu-series about these guys that were in a telemarketing room and had basically been hired to be scammers. And once they realized that they were hired to be scammers, they decided that they would secretly video what was happening in the room.
Oh.
Kind
of a boiler room.
Yeah, going undercover with it. But which is interesting because Tracy and I started out at our first meeting was working at I guess it's a telemarketing company, right?
Yeah, it was.
Except
we
that
didn't sell anything.
Right. We did phone surveys.
Well, back in the day, whenever you hang up the call, you can do a survey after it. Well, that didn't exist 20 years ago. So you actually got a call from a human being asking you about your service.
Right.
So we did that. Some of us better than others.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Well, you did get fired for falling asleep.
Okay, yes, I did. Because we were fucking that night, and then you gave me a bunch of drugs after fucking all night.
Cold medicine.
That was back in the days when one could fuck all night, and then you gave me cold medicine.
I think that would make
and then I fell asleep.
Is that a disco song? Fuck all night?
Yes, exactly. Fuck all night. Ooh, it's like the Boomtown Rats. There you go. We have our niece, and she's, is she actually backpacking through Europe, or is it a terminology we use?
Well, she does have a backpack, too.
She has a backpack. She's going through Europe. All right. Yeah. Now, I think when you think of backpacking through Europe, you think of, American...
Climbing the Himalayas?
Yeah, or American Werewolf in London, where they're crossing, the moors, and, and it's like you're sleeping on the ground. Well, it's not really like that.
Maybe backpacking used to mean that, where you would just, have no money and try to make
and now now you have a train, now you do hostels, now you... Right. Mm-hmm. So she's in Venice, and she was playing me... She had found different music, like Italian disco music, and... She'd found just some really, really cool 1967, just a whole vibe. This guy is singing it's just, and it was just, that's perfect. And I love it when a piece of music is just wow, this could be my life is a movie, and now we're doing a montage.
Well, and that's what you love about a good montage.
Right.
like a montage could even make a song. You know, there have been plenty of songs that have come to popularity because of the way that they were used in a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Or vice versa. Or one of the most disappointing song situations that has ever happened
Oh, wow.
was when,
Big talk.
you know that Bryan Adams song, Everything I Do For You?
Yes.
Okay. That was supposed to be in the Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner.
Right.
And it was in the credits. I hate it when they do that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, they're going around and having like montages of like falling in love, and she's got amazing hair.
That movie is terrible.
It's bad.
It's a very bad film.
Except for Christian Slater.
Well, and also Alan Rickman.
Yeah, Alan Rickman.
Yeah, Alan Rickman is just having a freaking blast. He does not care that he's in sort of a terrible movie. Poor Morgan Freeman. Oh my God. Oh, Jesus.
I love listening to Emma
Or
Thompson.
Christian Slater.
I love Christian Slater.
But he's doing like, he's trying to do, brother. He's trying to do this accent. And it's really, really, really bad.
Well, Kevin Costner could not be worse.
Oh my God, Kevin. Well, it's funny because he starts the movie and he has an accent. And then it's like by the time when he's like about to be beheaded in Jerusalem. And by the time he gets to England, that accent is gone.
Yeah.
It's back to Dances with Wolves. Okay. He's untouchable again. Okay. It's gone.
Have I ever told you that Kevin Costner story I heard?
What did you hear? Is it about his dick?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because usually if you say, have you ever heard this story? It's going to be about a dick.
David Duchovny.
Yes, dicks. It's all about dicks.
Kevin Costner had a friend. He was a writer.
Okay.
And he was trying to make it, right? And this is all straight from Kevin Costner's mouth.
Right.
To my ears, to my mouth, to your ears.
All right.
His friend comes to live with him. You know, he's trying to make it. And he's like, Kevin, you know, set me up with a bunch of meetings. You know, set me up with all these people you know. Come on, you know. So Costner sets him up with a bunch of people he knows so that he can do some script pitches and see if he can get anything going.
Okay.
Costner keeps hearing back from these people saying, your friend is a dick.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Like, he sucks. So Kevin Costner's like, I ain't sending you out on no more shit, man. Get out of my house. So the guy goes to, like, Arizona. Costner catches up with him. He's like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, it's awful. I'm freezing out here. I work at a Chinese restaurant.
Why is he freezing in Arizona?
Well, it was like the winter in Arizona.
Okay. Fair
and
enough.
he's like,
all right.
So, you know, Costner's like...
I'm asking the questions the audience is asking.
Okay, so the whole time, you know, he's saying, did you read my script yet, man? I sent you my script. And he's like, no, I really don't want to read your script. Like, you know, he's reluctantly friends with this man.
Been there, done that.
So he sends him some like flannel shirts and some sleeping bags and stuff, you know, so he can stay warm. So finally, he's like, man, please, will you just read my script? Costner picks up his script. It's Dances with Wolves.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and they go on to, he calls him back and he's like, I'm making your film.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and how many Academy Awards was that up for?
Absolutely. Who wrote Dances with Wolves?
Both the book and the movie adaptation of Dances with Wolves were written by Michael Blake.
That was his friend.
It's Michael Blake. And no, we don't know what Michael Blake's dick was like.
You don't.
The thing is that you just don't know, you know? And life is about exploration and giving people a chance and taking them as they are. And just because somebody else says, your friend's a dick, Kevin Costner didn't give up on him.
No, and like that creativity could come from anywhere. Mm-hmm. That actually makes me think, because of him having a script and being a writer, what about what we heard like yesterday, right? About SAG?
There was a bit of pushback from I think it started with
Sarah Silverman took to video.
Yeah, and she was upset, and basically she was like, all of these interim agreements, which basically is saying all of these people that are not associated with the AMPTP could continue to do their SAG projects or start their SAG projects as long as they agreed to what SAG was asking from the AMPTP.
Right, and that would affect their sales because the people who would buy the film would have to agree to those terms.
Right. So so Sarah's like, wait a second. isn't the whole point of a strike to shut the industry down? And now you're allowing this part of the industry to continue.
Basically, we were hosing the WGA in the process. If they're WGA writers, if they were union writers who wrote these shows,
Right.
then that was really technically going to be crossing their picket line too.
So yesterday, the new interim rulings came out, which basically said that if you had registered your script with the WGA, or if it was written by a Writers Guild of America writer, that would not be allowed to have an interim agreement.
Right. So that's probably going to make some projects fall.
Oh, it's definitely going to make some projects fall.
But quite honestly, I think that's only right. And I think SAG making these interim agreements is them playing both sides of the field.
Okay, I understand that. And I think you only think that that's right because it helps us.
No.
Because we did not sign up with the WGA. We had not had the opportunity, because our script is not locked yet, to register it with the WGA.
I mean, I was like weeks away from it, though.
Right, exactly. And we normally would. It's one of the things that you do when you have a script is
it's a layer of protection.
Yeah, you get it registered.
I mean, you copyright it, you register it.
But I understand. I understand both sides of it. I really do. I think that you have to be able to hold two thoughts that are opposing in your head, at the same time, if you're going to understand any situation. And I understand 100% the thinking by SAG and by the WGA. And I also, I don't agree with it, but I can kind of imagine the thinking of the AMPTP.
Thanks to our sponsor, Movie Mode Merch, the graphic t-shirt store to outfit you for your next film set. Be the person wearing the t-shirt everyone asks, "Hey, where'd you get that shirt?" Cast and crew alike love these inside jokes and filmmaking-inspired designs. Check them out on Insta at Movie Mode Merch.
Usually when you hear about strike negotiations, you think of them like every day. They're like, in a conference room and they're like, trying to knock it out. No.
It's like once a week or something.
Yeah, or not even necessarily that. Remember before SAG-AFTRA went on strike, they had said that they were not planning on even meeting with the WGA until October. They were going to starve them out.
Well, yeah, that's that quote that made everybody mad.
Yeah, Billy Porter actually said that he has to sell his house, and he was not happy about it.
Wow.
He's got some bucks. He's got gowns. I wonder if other people do what we do, which is like jump from streaming service to streaming service based on the shows that are on.
I'm sure.
Like we just signed up again for Showtime.
So that we can watch Billions,
which is
Bobby Axelrod.
Because he's back. The last season of Billions, they did a whole season without him.
I thought it was worse. It was worse.
It was fine. But if you go back to the Bobby Axelrod seasons, you're like, oh, that's what I've been missing.
You should check it out.
He is the bacon on the sandwich.
Well,
it just makes it better.
Well, I think he's the sandwich, and a lot of other people are sesame seeds on the bun.
Oh, shit!
I mean, he's the whole...
You just called them sesame seeds.
I mean, sorry, Taylor. Sorry, Wendy. Sorry, Chuck. Sorry.
We loved Homeland.
Loved it.
Homeland was amazing. And then Homeland went downhill after he was killed.
Well, he was killed spoiler alert.
Like 4 seasons.
2 or 3 seasons.
No, I think it was like 4 seasons.
No, I think it was like 2 or 3. Really.
Alexa, how many seasons of Homeland were there?
There were 8 seasons of Homeland from 2011 to 2020.
And his name is Damian.
Yeah,
What's his name?
Damian Lewis.
Damian Lewis. He and Chuck Rhodes have one of the best rivalries.
Right.
I mean, their relationship.
Paul Giamatti.
They'll be Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis. They'll be going at it. They'll be fighting. They'll be upping each other, besting each other. And then all of a sudden they will find something they agree on.
Right.
And they will talk about how much they agree. And then one of them will get pissed that they fell for
it's also
their similarities.
It's also hilarious how they will find a way to put in the most obscure references. And they will go reference to reference to reference to reference like 4 times in it. They'll be talking about, like, you know, this particular
They chilled
baseball.
on that a little bit this season.
Yeah, but I felt it when the first episode of the new season started, and it was like, oh, here come the references.
They do. They do a lot of pop references. I think maybe that's something that the show observed in those kind of people, like day traders.
Well, do you remember Dad used to call me a media puppet? That was his best insult to me, was you're a media puppet, which I've always wanted to start a company called Media Puppet just because of that.
should.
Because I
like that.
I always thought that, wait a second, you mean the fact that I am part of creating media in my life and I actually watch media and to learn from media and to be informed and to broaden my horizons, you know.
So this was something that made you uncomfortable or mad?
Oh, it absolutely made me mad. It absolutely made me mad.
I think you could be a media puppet. You could be a media consumer.
Yes.
If you weren't involved in its creation too.
Right, but here's the thing. You're not a puppet if you're watching and listening to all sides.
Well, I mean,
You're not being controlled by
right.
the media.
I do feel like as filmmakers, as artists, as creatives, like I'm working on social media campaigns right now. And if I don't know what's out there, if
Right.
I'm not consuming what's out there, like I need to know the baseline. I need to know the most popular YouTubers. I need to know what works, what doesn't work.
Well, what's interesting about what you've been doing is you spend probably more time creating the advertisements for the media than actually creating the media. I mean,
well-
it's like the advertisements are almost like another form of media.
Well, like for instance, we have our poster out right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Getting made, and it's a wonderful artist working on it. But like even the poster for a movie, you know, like that's a whole industry.
Right.
There are people, and social media marketing for that movie like is a whole industry, and evidently there is a lot of money in making successful ads for companies. There's like people who are paying millions and millions and millions of dollars on this.
Well, you're spending a lot of time not just on our stuff, but also for another podcast. And it's all about sort of the creation of these like little 10 to 15 second moments.
Yeah, what I came to realize was that maybe in the future we will be consuming things in smaller doses. When TikTok really caught on.
Are you talking about microdosing?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that what we're going to be doing in the future? It's all
Microdosing.
Microdosing our entertainment.
Okay, but look, I love a good 20-minute episode of something, you know, like the old school half-hour, you know, shows.
Right.
They are really satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
You can add a lot more diversity, you know, like you can watch 3 or 4.
Right.
And get a lot of story in as opposed to like one 45-minute episode. That works, I think, for lighter kinds of genres like comedy and stuff.
It's interesting because I actually just heard an Instagram of, I think it was someone on a podcast, and they were talking about how they felt like the show The Bear,
right,
had been really hurt by the concept of binging. That having all the episodes of The Bear,
I agree,
basically done in 2 to 3 weeks, people would stop talking about it. And that The Bear is one of the best shows on television.
I agree. There was a reason initially, you know, why they did things weekly. Mm-hmm. You know, it does keep you engaged for longer. You do end up being curious about it through the week. You do end up maybe reaching out.
But that's what we're doing with Lioness. We're like waiting around for Sundays to watch it.
I almost feel like I want to fast forward the whole damn week to get to another episode of Lioness, but that would suck.
You're going to go full click on this shit.
I want to live.
Adam Sandler just straight through.
Yeah, like I want to live this week and I want to do all the great things I'm going to get to do in it, but I also want to be able to watch Lioness. Over the long haul, when you binge something, it's much less effective. Burned into your memory.
Really?
I feel like it's not effectively burned. The Bear, for example. We binged that.
Right.
Over the course of probably 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
And like it's done. It's out of my head. It's done.
I mean, I remember it as being fantastic.
Yeah, I remember it being somewhat fantastic and somewhat unentertaining. But, like, now what? I'm going to wait a whole other year?
I think what you're saying is really interesting. I think what you have there is that your brain highlights, like, okay, this part of it was really a highlight of this season. For example, in The Bear, it's this, like, a Christmas episode that has, like, a gajillion stars in it as guest stars, as members of his family. And are you really even going to ever think about another episode of The Bear, except for that one for this last season?
When she makes the pregnant sister an omelet.
Yeah, with the potato chips on top.
Yeah, and then when the guy goes to another country to study pastries, and he's like walking in the city in the very, very early morning so that he can get to the bakery. Like, just that image is seared in. And Carmi being stuck in the refrigerator. Is it a
kind of show that's better for streaming than other shows? Like, I remember watching the Pete Davidson show, Bupkis.
Yeah,
and that
we
really
binged that.
I know, and that really felt like it was a great streaming experience.
Yeah, I agree. And there are certain things like the Star Trek thing,
Strange New Worlds.
I think it's great for streaming, but it does come out weekly.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's twofold. Yes, you're pushing your audience. You're pushing them to engage next week, instead of blast a bunch of numbers out in a very short period of time. Mm-hmm. But you are also staying front of mind for fewer weeks.
Well, you had talked about taking content in smaller doses. Well, and there was Current TV, which was the network that Al Gore started.
Back in the 2000s.
Yes. It was like 2000. It was like 2010s or something like that.
I remember watching it, probably that long ago. When The Inconvenient Truth came out, Al Gore invested in, this channel. This private channel, Current TV, and actually,
it was like viewer content.
Yes, viewer-provided content from journalistic sources. It was all like Vice was on there.
Right.
I don't know if that's where Vice started, but that's the first time I ever saw Vice.
Right.
But I loved it. And it also had a running clock.
Right.
Up in the top of the corner.
It would tell you, there would be a bar, and it would be like, okay, this is how much longer you have in this episode. Right.
And the episodes would be like 10 minutes sometimes.
Sometimes they would be super serious. Sometimes it would be like... they would almost be like advertisements for like, okay, this is a skateboarder and he has a skateboarding company and this is what he does. And they were like little mini documentaries.
It was amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why they went under. Probably didn't make any money, but I loved that channel. I would watch it for hours and hours.
Right. And then
I learned so many great things.
And then from Vice, I believe Vice TV started. And
maybe they became Vice TV. I don't know.
Right. And Katie Slut Forever, or Katie Slut Ever, whatever her name is. But she had that sex show that was on Vice. But that was more like a...
Katie Holmes.
No, it's not Katie Holmes. That's Tom Cruise's ex-wife.
Sorry. She's not in porn. Sorry.
But... no, because I follow her on Instagram, and she's hilarious and funny and very sexy.
Well, the cool thing about that was that clock was that I would always look at it and say, oh, how are they going to wrap up this story?
Right.
That quickly. Or, it would be a commercial and you would be like, now they have that. They incorporated that on, I think, Hulu or a couple other channels.
Right.
Where it shows you how much ad content you're going to have to watch. And that's the thing. Like, we would just hit mute buttons on old school commercials, too. Right?
Yeah.
Your dad always used to do that. As soon as the commercial came on.
He was like diving for the remote for the second the commercial came on.
But I do think, what if we start, consuming entertainment in smaller chunks? I think TikTok made
Quibi?
It popular.
But what about Quibi? Quibi went under, and it was like they invested billions into the idea that people would want to watch a 15 or 20 minute episode of an ongoing series. And it did not work.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even remember Quibi at all. But what I'm saying is, so these what I'm doing with our podcast and with clients too, is like figuring out ways to break out little chunks that stand alone, that are their own story. You know, they tell a complete story. And by taking, let's something like a podcast, whether it's video or just audio, and by creating clips that promote that podcast and listeners to listen to that podcast, but they are products of their own, you are able to take one product and turn it into another product. Like, especially if you're doing video, you know, you need to think about how you can diversify that one product. And like, maybe, I mean, we try to keep our podcast to under 40 minutes.
Right. Where are we at right now, babe?
43 minutes.
Oh, well then we should wrap up very soon.
Okay, we're done.
No, we're not happy. It's hard not to get romantic about movies. Yeah.
Bye.
No, it's interesting.
I actually, you know, had a really successful clip. It's gotten like well over 20,000 views.
Well,
now.
you've had 2 campaigns that you've been supporting as far as creating content for them that were crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
And both of them have made their money back.
Well, I mean, crowdfunding is like its thing, you know.
But it's the same thing. It's all about those little clips and staying in front of people.
Staying in front of people.
That's the big thing.
And I think you have to, if you are promoting a product and you have this feeling like, oh, people are going to get sick of me, people are going to get sick of, actually the consistency,
right?
They can flick right on by you, but the consistency tells them that they can trust you. They can trust you to put out consistent content.
Right.
And don't think that it's annoying people.
Right.
If you annoy people to the point where you've actually annoyed them, they will let you know.
Right.
They will unfollow you. They will unfriend you. They will send an email. They will unsubscribe. They will send an email back that says, stop sending me this shit. You know, that's when you know you've annoyed someone.
But generally...
But it's hard to.
But generally speaking, once you become part of their feed,
right.
You know, then they're just like, oh, okay. Oh, what's happening next on this?
Well,
and I mean, literally, there was somebody that has been sending me emails probably for a year. And then my sister-in-law, she started to tell me about this same program. So I was like, oh my God, she's gotten to her too. And I sat in on the class. And that's what it took. That's what it took for me.
Well, it takes a lot of touches, you know. I mean, in old school advertising, you know, like if you've watched Mad Men, you know, they would just test market their shit. Like they would hire like 20 people to come in and test something. Mm-hmm. But now every single post is a test market.
And it could be 20 or 50 or 100 different touches. But the thing is that it doesn't necessarily take that long because you are on multiple platforms every single day.
Well, let me ask you this. If you had a friend, right, Tom, and Tom posts something like a meme or something that he thinks is funny every single day.
That's true. I love Tom's memes.
Okay, well, you may not even be that great of friends with Tom.
Right.
Right? But he keeps popping up in your feed because he's consistent.
Right.
And you like everything Tom does. It's
right.
like, oh, that was a funny meme. Great.
Right.
No, you're not going to go to Tom's page and say, wonder what Tom's doing today.
No, it's just going to show up on your feed.
That's why I'm saying don't worry about annoying people.
There's this guy named Rick Lang on Facebook that
we only briefly knew him.
I loved all of his content. I loved it.
We knew him for maybe a total of 3 hours.
And he always entertained me. And I always commented on what he did. And then he stopped posting for some reason because, you know, I think some of his posts got a little bit more artistic and, you know, risque and, boobies. One
thing that you can do is you can make sure that the algorithm hasn't kicked them out of your feed.
Right.
If you're not seeing a person anymore and like, oh, wonder if they died. At our
I
age.
wonder if they died.
At our age.
That's a lovely thought.
That's just like the first thing I think if they fall out of my feed, they died.
They're dead. I guess if they're dead to me, maybe they're dead to the planet.
Well, I mean, if you fall out of my feed, you are kind of dead.
Remember that, folks. If you fall out of people's feed, you're dead.
To them.
Well, yeah. No, literally, you die. That's what happens. That sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
The Matrix,
yeah, that's like Black Mirror episode where it's just like, you know, every day you have to post or you're gonna. And wait, why are you gonna hit stop for?
Every day you gotta post or you die.
Every day you gotta post, you're gonna die.
Yeah, that sounds like a Black Mirror episode for sure.
All right. Well, I think that
Nobody cares.
We
Goodbye.
didn't even get to all the other stuff that we were going to talk about.
Look, the show topics in our tasks.
Yes.
They're meant to be an ongoing list of things that cross our mind that we can talk about.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
They're not meant to like be a finishable list.
I like it. There is no finishable list.
It's hard not to get romantic about movies. Thanks for listening to Married to Movies. Jon and Tracy will meet you for breakfast tomorrow. Thanks to our sponsor, Movie Mode Merch, comfortable graphic tees made by and for awesome filmmakers to wear on set and off. Check them out on Insta at Movie Mode Merch.